Hi, good to see you today, and glad you're back with us for the discipler groups. Today we're going to continue our conversation about connection and how we can continue to connect. Paul tells us we see in a mirror dimly, but then we shall see face to face. Isn't that true with connections and meeting and greeting other people? That initially, we really see each other dimly. We really don't get to know each other. It's only over time and as we explore the relationship that we grow deeper in that relationship. Today we have two persons that continue to help us to understand and explore building relationships. The first is Reverend William Holmes, one of the retired pastors from our conference. He'll talk about his collection of masks and about how we all wear masks and how important it is to understand what our own mask is and to begin to see beyond the mask. The second person is Francis Frazier. He works with Native Americans and Native American tribes all across the nation and also with other people to help people come together and build strong bonds and relationships. We're grateful that both of them have come to share with us today. I'm also grateful that you're here and for the ministry and work you do in your congregation. Let us now listen to Bill Holmes.
When it comes to connecting with other people, really getting to know someone, it's always seemed to me that our society has a misplaced emphasis on the face and on what we call face value, including this huge new internet phenomenon known as Facebook. Oh, I know, lovers long to see each other's faces, and mothers look adoringly into the faces of their infants. And in jurisprudence, a person accused is entitled to face his or her accuser. But is the face really a doorway into the truth about a person? The word person itself isn't derived from the word face. It's derived from the Latin persona, which originally meant mask. The mask or persona was initially worn by Greek and Roman actors in the theater, not for the purpose of misleading or concealing, but for the purpose of conferring a role and communicating certain truths. They told the truth through disguises. And so do we. Have you ever noticed that when looking into another person's face, your focus isn't on the nose or mouth, the cheeks or chin? Instead, your concentration is on the eyes, or more precisely, the pupils of the eyes, those black orbs that open into a dark ocular cavity. And what we've discovered about these two holes in the face is that, drawn to them as we are, there's nothing there to see. The eyes remain abstract, unfathomable, and the person whose eyes we ponder still appears to us as enigmatic and complex. Emmanuel Levinas, a French philosopher, contends that the fascination, the magnetic power that concentrates us on another person's eyes is because the eyes are the place where they see us, the place where we are seen. And what we want to know is, what do they see? How do we appear to them? If we have reason to believe that a person sees us admirably, favorably, we are drawn to them. We relish their presence and deliberately create occasions to be seen by them. And if we sense that we are being seen unfavorably, negatively, we are just as deliberate in our efforts to avoid that rejection. Saying, I don't want to see that person again, usually means I don't want to be seen by that person again. For it's in the eyes of others that we find or fail to find a validation that all of us are seeking. But now the harder question is, how reliable is that validation? The eyes can't speak literally or communicate unambiguously. They rely on other features of the face, a smile, a frown, a laugh, a tear, the spoken word. And since the face is capable of both sincerity and deception, we can never be entirely sure of the messages we are receiving. In fact, isn't this the ever-present risk of human relations? The risk that requires a leap of faith. Since we have no absolute assurance of how other people really see us or how they really feel about us, we gamble. And short of living in isolation, there's just no way out of this casino. Placing bets on whom to trust and whom not to trust is the only game in town. Even in romantic love, where a person has reason to believe that another person looks on him or her as my beloved. Even then, a perhaps remains, and the luxury of certitude eludes us. The reason that the word person is derived from the Latin word for mask is because masks both conceal and reveal the truth. And when you think about it, that's how truth always comes to us, indirectly, obliquely, and incognito. Just like the truth of who another person really is. The truth about who that person really is comes through the masks that person wears. So, from the most primitive of tribes to the most sophisticated of societies, human beings have shown an almost universal propensity to disguise the face with masks, literally or with facial expressions. Paul Tournier, a Swiss psychoanalyst who practiced in the latter part of the last century, reported that the patients he had as nudists were sincerely pursuing the utopian dream of casting aside all personage, all coverings, and creating a genuine community. But what he also discovered in them was an unconscious repression. They were ill at ease with their masks and aspired to be transparent. And here's the point of all of this. The masks we wear are not as artificial as we think. The personage which we put on expresses the real person more accurately because we are more relaxed with it and less on guard. The trick is not to kid ourselves into thinking that somehow we can strip away the mask in an attempt to be naked or transparent. Instead, our hope is in harmonizing personage and person, in owning our inner life with all its feelings and emotions, while intentionally shaping our outer life to conform to the person we want to be or to become. Our highest destiny is not in pleading we are helpless victims of the way we feel, but in restraining feelings we believe to be unworthy of ourselves or of others, and allowing aspirations to become self-fulfilling through the masks we wear. When you sit down with another person to share with that person some aspect of your life story, you will deliberately select what mask you will put on, what part of yourself you're going to reveal. That mask will not make you transparent to that person, but it will be one authentic window into who you are becoming. That's why the word person is derived from the Latin word for mask.
Hello, my name is Francis Frazier. I'm a member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe from Eagle Butte, South Dakota originally, and I'm here to talk about the concept of connectedness from my experience. In my experience, I've lived on 13 different Indian reservations growing up, and I think that has, it obviously has shaped who I am today. And what I wanted to do was just share my view of what I think connectedness is from an Indian perspective, and maybe you can pull some information out of here that would be useful to you. Maybe not. We'll see. It's for you to decide. When you think about reservations or Indian communities in this country today, I consider many of them to be, fairly isolated, definitely isolated in a cultural sense, but their own communities. And so when outsiders do come in, people may ask you directly or ask themselves about your presence. Why is this person here? Why are they coming onto the reservation? What is the intent of coming onto the reservation? Do they want something? Are they here to share something? Are they here to take something? Those are the questions that people are asking themselves and may directly ask, an outsider who comes in. And there is a lot behind that when you look at the history of Indian communities, Indian tribes, bands in this country. Things have always been taken. The land was taken. Their pride was taken. Their way of life was taken. Their religion was taken. And so whenever an outsider does come onto the reservation, the common question is, well, what do you want? What are you going to try to take from me, if anything? In growing up, one experience that I would like to share is that there was a Catholic priest on one reservation I lived on as a teenager who had been on the reservation, I would estimate, probably about 30 years. And he was an integral part of the community. This is a man who came to the reservation as a young man and became part of the community, because the same questions for any outsider coming onto the reservation were there. What is the intent of this person? What does he want? Why is he here? And can I or should I invest the time, energy, and effort in getting to know this person? Because is he going to leave? And I think that in my experience knowing him, he spoke the language. He spoke, that Indian language. He was an integral part of the community in that, having been there so long, people trusted him, people knew him, they knew he was accepted in the community, he was, a part of the community. I think his ability to connect with that community was really in question until people really understood what his intent was. And he was there to help. He wasn't there to necessarily convert people to Catholicism. He was there to help them with, working through their problems, helping them, connect better with their family members. He was there. He was there for multiple reasons. Conducting mass, of course, but it was more, he was a community member, doing his piece to help that community live a better life, really, on their terms, which I think is the most important piece. I mean, he was there when I left, and that was a good 30 years. He was, for all purposes, he was an Indian, living on the reservation and was a community member. But that's what it takes. I think that's the critical piece. It doesn't really matter what denomination you belong to. It's what kind of person are you, because you need to connect with the community and you need to be accepted. And you need to accept the community for who they are and what they are and their circumstances in order to connect. Because people aren't going to change to meet your needs necessarily. You have to change to meet the community's needs. And if you can't do that, you won't connect. And that doesn't even have to be an Indian community. That could be any community. I think that's that is the take-home message.